Hi everyone, welcome back to SK Scoutcraft. Today we're going to talk about stoves. I have an assortment of stoves out in front of me here. All of these are inexpensive options to get you started in the camping and backpacking world. First stove we have is our simple IKEA dish strainer wood stove. The next one is our small Esbit stove, very compact, very inexpensive. I think these are about $5-6. They use solid fuel tablets. Probably our cheapest stove on the lot is our Fancy Feast cat food can stove. Just with a simple hole punch, you can make this alcohol burner stove. Over here we have our standard backpacking stove. This is a tank top stove. It folds up, goes really small in your backpack. Problem with this stove is you have to carry fuel, and the fuel is quite heavy. And the largest and bulkiest stove that we have today is the propane tank top stove. So this doesn't fold up, so that's the size that it is. Usually you need a base like this because the propane tanks can be a bit tippy. Either that or you have to learn to bury the tanks in the ground a bit. And the tanks themselves are quite heavy, so not always the best option. But what we're going to do today is we're going to compare all of these stoves. So we're going to take and we're going to do a water boiling challenge, and we're going to boil 2 cups of water, which is a standard amount of water used for most dehydrated meals. And we're going to time each of these stoves to see how long it takes to bring 2 cups of water to a boil, and give you a little bit of feedback on each stove. Alright, so stay tuned here and we will get started on the boiling challenge. First stove that we're going to test today is our sort of backpacking standard. These little tank top stoves can range anywhere from $10 to $200. This is a simple Amazon special. They cost about 12 bucks. They've got little extendable arms and a piezo lighter on there, and the fuel control is on here. So we're going to start with 2 cups of water in our pot. So we got our pot there, so we got one and 2. So we're going to take the water for all our tests from the same container, so we get a standard on temperature, so there's no big temperature fluctuations on with each of our tests. So we're going to give this we'll start up here. Now the problem with these is they're great for boiling water, but they are very centralized and hot, so they're not great for using fry pans or those types of cookingware on them. Great for boiling water though, really quick. So let's have a look here. Get her going. Okay, you probably can't see it there, but she's going. Okay, get her warmed up. Now get our timer on. Alright, and we shall put that on there. Put the lid on and hit go. Great. So I will bring you back when this one has started to boil. Alright everybody, as you can see we have a boil going on here. Boiling hard at 4 minutes and 42 seconds. Okay, so the first stove in under 5 minutes got a good boil going. Alright, so let's just, as you can tell, these stoves are a little bit noisy, but they're really quick. So let's just shut that off there. Great, and we'll just get set up for our next stove. Alright everyone, the next stove we're going to try here is that previous stove's bigger brother. So this is a fairly long-standing tank top stove. Again, Great for car camping, unless you like carrying a lot of weight, though this is going to be fairly big to carry into any sort of backpacking situation. And just so you know, I am using 2 pots. So the hot one, I'm not reusing the hot one right away, so I can get a consistent boil on the water. So this one does not have a starter, so of course we got to get in here with our match. Okay, and there you go. Just like our last stove, it's hard to see, but it's definitely on. Okay, and we'll get our 2 cups of water. One. And 2. Okay. And we will get that up on the stove. And timer on. Alright everyone, let's let that one come to a boil. And we will bring you back in a few minutes to see what our time is on this stove. And alright, there we go. A rolling boil. And this one does a little bit better at 424. So it is a slightly larger stove. So it gives us a little bit more heat on the flame. 424 on that one. Again though, you have to have the base and the larger fuel tanks for this one. So it's got its drawbacks. Alright. We'll bring you back in a second here with the next stove on our list. Alright everyone, the next stove in our series has probably got to be the cheapest and the lightest stove that you can have. And that is our Friskies cat food can stove. We just filled it up with some denatured alcohol, Gasline antifreeze, other alcohols of the type. And we're just going to light it, and we're going to see how this one does. But again, for anybody that's just getting started and you just want the cheapest option out there, this is it. Okay, so let's get our water going here. Now, one thing about this stove is that it is extremely subject to wind. So you definitely are going to want to have some sort of windscreen or wind protector in front of the stove when you're using it, to make sure that all the heat goes up to the pot and doesn't go out to the sides. There's no fancy starters or anything on this one. It's just a cat food can. So we just take our match. Okay, and it's lit. Okay, so we'll just give that a couple of seconds to let the alcohol heat the can itself up. So then the flames will start to come out the sides. It's called blooming. You can't even see that on this camera today. I don't know if we can get a shot of the flame itself. I don't think so. Okay, so we'll just let that bloom for a second there. Alright. Alright, we'll get our pot on there and see how long 2 cups of water takes to boil on our cheapest and lightest stove option. Alright, we're going to let that go, and we will bring you back in a few minutes when that's come to a boil. And alright, there you have it. We got boiling water in 10 minutes and 57 seconds. So just about 11 minutes. So that's about double what either of the compressed gas stoves can do. But in all consideration, considering it's a 49-cent cat food can, and the super lightweight attributes of this, that's a pretty respectable time. All right, so let me go set us up for the next stove, and we'll see you in a minute. All right, everybody. The next stove we're going to look at is a simple Esbit stove, Esbit fuel tablets. These are little solid fuel tablets, alcohol based, and you just light them and they burn. So the stove itself, like I said previously, you can get these stoves for $5-6, Army and Navy or any place that sells Coghlan's or other types of products. And then of course you can get the fuel tablets there. As you can see, this whole box of tablets is $2.50, so this can do you a whole camping trip, and really inexpensive. It packs down quite small, and it's a great little stove. So even if it's just a sort of a backup stove or an emergency stove, it's a good little starter stove. All right, there we go. As you can see, we've got some flame going on there. We've chosen to use 4 tablets for this experiment. I hope it's enough. Let's see if we can get our 1. Two cups of water on the go there. So we'll just set that right on top of that stove. And we're going to put this little windbreak in there just to keep the wind down, and go. All right, we will just let that cook away there for a bit, and we will bring you back when we have a time. Well, there you have it. Got a good rolling boil. We did have to add 1 more tablet. So to get that was a 5-tablet boil. Okay. And 5 minutes, 25 seconds. 5 minutes, 25 seconds. That's a pretty respectable number for a $5-6 stove and some solid fuel tablets. And we still got lots of fire going on down there, unlike the alcohol stove, which pretty much boiled the water just as it ran out of fuel. All right, so we'll come back in a few minutes with our last stove of the day. All right, well, we're back, and the last stove that we're going to look at today is your IKEA cutlery strainer hobo stove or twig stove. All of my troop will know all about this one because we've made them and we've used them and they work great. So we're just going to put this one to the test in comparison to the other stoves that we've had. So I've already preloaded it with some wood down there, and we're just going to get inside here and give this a light. If we can get that started. So this stove is a little bigger, but it's super light, and the advantage is you get the fuel from wherever you are. It is a little bit subject to the wind, so we're going to use a windscreen on it, and hopefully we get it burning pretty quick in there. Alright, while that's starting up, we'll get our 2 cups of water. Alright, so 1, 2, and this is probably the quietest of the stoves that we have, and the most like a campfire. So you get the enjoyment of that kind of campfire cooking when you're using this stove. So we'll just give it a second here to get some flames going inside there. It's pretty smoky right now, but you'll find that once the wood gets hot and it gets burning, that smoke subsides. Now, because this pot fits down inside there, we've used these 2 tent pegs to create a shelf for the pot inside. All right, so we've got some fire going there. So let's just give it a second. There we go. There we go. All right, so let's just put our pot on and see how long it takes. All right, and we'll come back when this one is at a boil. And surprise, surprise, the wood stove has the fastest burning time for boiling 2 cups of water at 2 minutes, 22 seconds. Wow. We've had some fairly dry wood with that, but we got a good boil going on. 2 minutes, 22 seconds. And the nice thing about this stove is once you've got coals down there and going on, you can cook with a fry pan or other pot to use the stove in many different ways. So, but 2 cups of water, 2 minutes, 22 seconds. Wow, that's awesome. All right, we're just gonna put this one out and then we'll come back with the comparisons. All right, everyone, there you have it. We've tested 5 simple stoves, all of them fairly inexpensive. All of them have their good points and their bad points. So, surprisingly, the fastest boil time was this fella right here. So this is our IKEA dish drainer hobo stove, wood stove. It's nice and light. It's a little large for putting in a backpack, but it's really light and you can pack stuff inside it to use that space. And the fuel is found just all over the place. So that was our fastest boil time. I was very surprised with that one. And the next fastest was this big guy here. So this propane top, tank top stove, it's a lot bulkier because of the propane bottle. This is a lot of extra weight to carry, but it did have a super fast boil time. The next one, of course, was the Backpacker Standard. Now, this is not the smallest fuel tank that you can get. There is even a smaller tank if you want to reduce weight. And the stove itself, very tiny, comes with this little case. This one off of Amazon, like I said, is about $12, $14, somewhere in there. Super light little stove, super fast boil time. Okay. Next, came in with this guy here, with our Esbit. Again, this is a simple $5, $6 stove, Army and Navy, or any place that carries a Coghlan. Fuel tablets are really inexpensive. Like I said, it took about 5 fuel tablets to bring that water to a boil with a little bit of flame left over. It was a good little stove. Fuel can go inside, packs down really small. So for backpacking or even your emergency kit or anything, that's a good little stove that you can have with you. And then, of course, the loser in the time trials was this little guy here. But again, it's a winner in so many other ways. One, it's a 49-cent cat food can stove. Really easy to make, super light to carry. Even with the fuel, this is probably the lightest stove out of the whole set to carry. So we're going to have a look here at a chart of the different burn times, and then you'll be able to choose for yourself. But it just goes to show that if you want to get into some lightweight camping, the stoves, they're not expensive. I don't think anything here costs any more than $15-20. I think this is the most expensive one. If you bought one new, this one's fairly old, but if you bought one new, that's the most expensive one at I believe they're around $19.95 or $24.95 for that stove, and then you're paying about $6 for a can of fuel. Same with this, you're paying about $6 for a can of fuel. Most youth will use one of these cans for 2 or 3 camps. A can of this size easily for camping. The stove itself here, like I say, under $15, under $6, 50 cents. The strainers, if you were to make one of these yourself with the strainer and the bolts and everything, you're looking at about a $10 build here. And then, of course, the fuel for this one is free because you just gather any standing dead wood to do your fire. So that wraps up today's episode. Thanks for tuning in to SK Scoutcraft, and we'll see you again with another video real soon.